Going to be doing something very different than usual in this match. We're bottom tier as tier 8s in a tier 10 match. I'm in a T-44, which even firing gold doesn't hold up particularly well against tier 10s, especially not with lots of tier 9 tank destroyers pad out the enemy team. They got some decent players, so I'd like to try and avoid them. I can also see our bat chat is not very good, so I have an inkling that he's not going to do his job, so I decide instead of going to the hill where my T-44 will be able to do very little against tier 10s backed by tier 9 tank destroyers and tier 7 and 8 arty, tier 7 shouldn't even be in this match, I will instead scout along the middle, which I've done once or twice before in my medium tanks, but usually I won't do this unless I'm driving a light tank. It kind of, I suppose, represents the way I've had a bit of a paradigm shift in the way I play the T-44. I play it less as a fighting medium now, unless I'm top tier, and more as a scout. So you can see here I've already found the enemy T-54, who's trying to do much the same thing, but he runs away without contesting this little bowl I'm in. Now, this is the spot. Instead of driving around the ridgeline or sitting in a bush in the 1 or 2 lines, this bowl is a position you want to be in. There's no arty cover here, obviously, so I need to keep moving, but I am protected on all 4 sides from enemy fire, so even if they somehow get into our own base, I can't be hit from there. So 704 comes up and starts, well, I don't know what he was doing, but he's kind of scaring me, so I had my team focus him down, which they do. The first major threat to my existence has been removed. You can see the T-54 is not really willing to push in on me, even though he quite easily could. He's a decent player, he should have known he'd be able to beat me in a straight up DPM fight. I guess he just valued his hit points too much to even try. But that was a mistake for him, because from this position I can spot down the 2 line for my team. So I find the E100, clumsily rolling up towards the front, pop up to just keep it lit, and to maybe try and bait a shot. And then the tortoise gets spotted as well. Tortoise takes some big hits and begins backing off. I get a little greedy here and try for a shot, but I bounce anyway. And then I spot the Conqueror on my way back down, so this has been quite a productive spot for me. So that E100 was out in the trench there, but I took a hit from the Waffenträger E100, and so I decided not to poke over like that again. But now I know that the most powerful enemy tank destroyer is way at the back of the 2 line, basically on the edge of the map, which is good news for my teammates in the east. Speaking of our teammates in the east, we've lost the hill. Our bat chat abandoned it completely and is now driving around the lake. I have no idea what he was hoping to achieve by that. Assassinator gets taken out because of the hill being lost, and it puts Snooze now in a rather precarious position. The vast majority of my team is on the 2 line. Now, that's good news for me because I'm spotting all their damage, but it's bad news as a whole, because if they don't push hard, or if the push fails, there's a very strong chance of losing the match. Thankfully, our E100's a very foolhardy and just charged straight up into the enemy almost, which gets the rest of the team moving up behind them. So as you can see, our farthest back tank destroyer is actually still in the G line, which is not bad. Most pubbies seldom pass the G line, let alone have that as their rear. So I'm still just popping over every now and then. I get shots where I can, but I know my prime role here is to spot, not to do damage. Now that these guys have moved up, I can risk exposing myself a little more, because I know the Waffenträger is going to be preoccupied with them and not me. This T-54 is now low health, and with him being a thorn in my side all game, I decide it's finally time to deal with him. So I roll over the top, put a shot in, somebody else finishes him, and then the Waffenträger is lit. you can see a strong two-line push can really make a game on this map, but it needs to be a strong push. Most pubbies won't push the two-line, they'll just hell camp it. Or if they do push, they'll do it into unspotted enemy tanks without scouting, which is the reason I went there in the first place, so that any push was properly scouted, because you can't rely on pubbies to do it themselves. So I find the enemy 50B, he's still full health. I was trying to Benny Hill him around this house, which looked like it was working for a moment. I got him tracked in front of my teammates. Unfortunately, I was hoping for a little cheeky shot on him there, but it turns out the IS-8 was supporting him, so I lost rather a lot more hit points than I expected. And then, after scrubbing that shot very badly, the IS-8 popped me right in the back. But as you can see, we've established map control. We're coming in on the enemy from 3 different angles now, and they've only got 2 tanks and an arty left, and the arty is not long for this world. Here goes the IS-8, that's me avenged, and now the IS-7 is almost done. It's going to take a few seconds for the Waffenträger Panzer 4 and Snoo to work his health down. But there he goes. So only about 790 damage from this match. But if you look at the spotting damage in the post-game report, I was doing an awful lot of work on that side. So I wouldn't say that T-44 is incapable of fighting tier 10s. I think it certainly is capable of doing it. It's just very difficult, particularly on open maps like this. Maps where you've got more depressions to play with, or where you're in a city, are much more suited to the T-44 being bottom tier. So Malinovka, Muravanka, Prokhorovka, any map where it's, or even steppes where it's flat open ground and you're faced with tier 10s, just play it like you're playing a light tank almost. You won't have the on-the-move camo, but you are small for a medium, you have good camo, and you're quite fast. Just be the spotter for your team, be their eyes, since you can guarantee they won't be. I recently took the vents off this thing and put optics on it as a reflection of the change in play style, and so far I've been quite enjoying it, so I think I'm onto something here. I'm not sure if I'll keep the vents on my other Soviet mediums or if I'll swap them for optics. I find the T-54 really doesn't find itself in situations where it's out-tiered as such, and the tier 10 Soviet mediums obviously can fight toe-to-toe with anything in the game. It's just a case of the T-44 being, you know, it's a good chassis, but the gun can be a bit of an issue. So the other Soviet mediums at tier 9 and 10 don't have that issue, I find.